After you made your first character in the hopes of elaborating on the story surrounding them, there may be a couple questions going through your mind. Is this character going to be similar to the first? Will they be supporting characters to the protagonist? Or will they be an outright antagonist? How do they complement the first character and the story as a whole? These and several other questions are what I'm going to answer as I review and analyze the character of Dinognathus by Skull Ghidorah 2016. Starting off with the first impressions, the shape is humanoid with large muscular arms, legs, and a slender tail, with a relatively long neck and an armored head. The two most striking features of the character would be the fins and, of course, the head. The orange highlighting the tail's rim with the bony section being brown with white help inform the observer of what is fluke and what is bony tail. With the use of bright colors, it helps draw the eyes to those parts of the design. The head similarly has a crest-like fin, with the white being more present around the face. The eye's sclera is a nice shade of red, and the iris being yellow, with a large pupil in the center, definitely gives the character a nice dead-eyed fish look. The inspiration of Dinognathus is clear to see, with the head and the anal fins near the base of the tail, and the tail itself are really telling of what this character was based off. However, because the inspiration from the Dunk are very blatant, this is where my critiques lie. First is the neck. The neck seems to be very thin where the armor stops and it expands to make way for the body. To recontextualize some information, this creature lives in the water, and although there are many animals in the ocean that have long slender necks with relatively small heads, I believe here it doesn't work as well. Because of the armor around the head and the high amount of detail around the body, the neck seems to be an area that didn't get as much attention. It's noted in the character's description that it uses its head like a club. Looking at its proportions, I feel the head could do with some sizing up, along with making the neck shorter to imply better shock absorption when ramming opponents, and maybe thickening the neck as well to indicate large muscles to use that nasal horn of its for piercing. Now that I've given some critique of the design, I want to give some time to look over the original design and see what was changed and what was carried over, and what could possibly be taken over into a third design. Looking at the old design, we can see where Skull's design philosophy helps enforce his style and anatomy of his characters. This is because the original Dinognathus is very similar to Elasma Giga in terms of anatomy and design. However, we'll talk about Giga later. The traits carried over were the number of dorsal fins on the back, the armored chest, knobs on the arms and legs, and the flipper arms, which are a personal favorite touch of the design in my own opinion. As for major changes, the legs went from bulky theropod legs to being much slimmer with webbed toes. Color seems to have switched to a degree, with brown now being dominant instead of the yellow. One thing about the original design that didn't carry over much was the black, which was originally a domineering color and is now only a small spot near the top of the tail. With no black on the design aside from this, I think the design would do well with removing what is essentially a birthmark at this point. Aside from comparing old and new looks, I want to look at Dinognathus compared to Skull's other kaiju, and his main one that I have featured on my channel before, Elasmo Giga. Doing a small rundown of the character's stats, I'll start with Dino first and then Elasmo. With heights, 70 meters versus 80 meters, lengths are 105 versus 110, weights have Dino at 45,000 tons, with Elasmo clocking in at 50,000 tons. Elasmo's got some powers while Dino doesn't have any aside from her swimming. Yes, Dinognathus is female. Don't assume, bigot. The reason I rattled off stats for our Kaiju girl, no relation, is that it seems she's a bit outmatched. When looking at her as an antagonist for gigs, the roles of Godzilla and Anguirus in Godzilla Raids Again are what my mind drifts to when thinking of an equivalence. In the case of Anguirus, there are many reasons why he works as a good antagonist and secondary monster for Godzilla. Like the Big G, Anguirus is a radioactive saurian kaiju, and while Godzilla, physically resembling a bipedal theropod, Anguirus is quadruped, giving them a sort of T-Rex and Kylosaur dynamic. And despite Anguirus being seen and presented as sort of a punching bag, he's actually taller than Godzilla when standing upright, and even outweighs the king of the monsters by 10,000 tons. What I'm getting at with this is that Dinognathus should probably get a weight increase, along with either a length or height increase. And since most kaiju in both books and in movies fight using their weight or height as their advantage, and with Giga having powers and Dinognathus not, it seems that Dinognathus really needs a physical advantage, as it may seem that Dinognathus losing is inevitable. therefore creating a loss of tension and stakes. So, giving her a little bit more of a size or weight advantage to at least combat Giga's powers may serve the story in a better way. I really like Dinognathus' design overall. I think removing the black spot near her tail, working on the neck area, and as for stats, either giving her powers or beefing her up in the weight and either height or length department, and I think your Kaiju would become a lot better as a result. I'm really happy to review another one of Skull's characters, and the characters of his Elasmoverse will probably become a mainstay as I review more of them. There will also be a playlist on the channel, so if you only want to see reviews of his characters and see his story unfold on the channel, that will be something I'll be working on as well. As always, I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned, subscribe, click the bell notification to stay informed, because you know how I am with uploading, and stay tuned for the next video. See you guys.